Hello and welcome back to 3-Day Weekend. Today we have the PRO XP up on the lift and we're going to find out if East Lake axles are any good. Let's get to it. I see the question asked all the time, are East Lake axles any good? And there are a lot of varying opinions on them. Personally, I do have them running on one of the Aces in the back, and I've had zero issues with it, and it's been quite a few miles. But I don't have them on the main machine, the PRO XP. The OEM axles, I'm about 300 hours, just shy of 3,000 miles, and they're starting to get a little noisy up here at the top end. Not clicking, but where they fit into the differentials. So I'm just going to replace them. They're all still working, everything is fine, just make a little noise, so we're going to put them on. And I figured, why not test the East Lake axles? A lot of people say they're absolute trash, other people say they're good. Some people say the axles are good, but not the differentials. I couldn't speak to those, but we're just here to test the axles. So we're going to compare them to an OEM axle, front and rear, and see the difference. And then I'm going to put them on this machine and drive it. We have a trip coming up out to Silver Lake, and we're going to run East Lake axles out on that. There will be a lot of sand, a lot of heavy driving, and a lot of air time. So I figured that'll be a good test for it. But I'm going to work on getting the old axles out real quick, and then we'll compare these side by side. Stripping down everything so you can get the axle out is not really that big of a deal. Getting the axle out, that could be a big deal. We're going to hit this up in a time lapse. First thing we're going to do is remove the axle knot. Cotter pin is across there. Zip that screw off. Now this part I'm going to remove the radius rods. That bolt you can get it without taking it off. This holds the caliper on, but it's just easier to take that bar right off out of the way. Two 15mm bolts to hold the caliper on. I grease my bearings, so these are really messy. So I gotta throw a rag over it. If we're lucky, this will pop out. Turn you. Oh my gosh, it came out. That never happens. We got her. If those don't come out, you can get a slide hammer with, they call it a pickle fork that reaches behind and try to beat it out that way. Or some crowbars, soak in PV blaster, let it sit for a night or two. But you saw I just kept turning it a little bit, try again, turn a little bit, try again, and it came out. I do coat these up with Never Sees pretty good when I have them out. It's been a while since I've had them out, but it came out surprisingly easy. You only need to get one side out, and then you can drive the reverse side out. You know, I can put a bar through there and tap it out. There she goes. Wow, 2 for 2, all right. I had a 50-50 shot opening the right one, and I opened the front one. So these must be the rear ones. I feel that they're shipped very well. Inside of another thing in there, and inside plastic. I've never received the damaged one so far. Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
Yep. There we go. It does come with a new nut, a new washer, and a new pin, which you don't get in every axle that you order, so it's nice that they come with all of those. But let's measure diameter compared to an OEM. I'm going to put this one away. That's a front. We'll work on that later. Here they are side by side, and man, they look similar. It's the same bands, but the bands are facing the opposite direction, which I don't think matters. Well, I know it doesn't matter. This one even has a little green dot on it, and this has a little green dot in a different place, but the same color green. That's very interesting. These are very similar. See, there's a little green dot, a little green line, and a green line, and a green line with the same color. So if it's a copy, they even use the same thing. I will say this one is a smooth finish. This one, I can feel the grooves in it from the finishing. Let me grab a micrometer and we can check thicknesses. Oh, that one's got a little ridge in the middle, and this one doesn't. There's a little better view of that green mark right there versus that one is right there. Can you see that finish? Versus this one is smooth. Otherwise they look pretty close. Let's get a mic on there. We have, oops, 1.28 versus, ooh, Eastlake is just barely thicker. Huh. Okay. Well, that's okay. We're good with that. How about weight? Let's compare the weight. Okay, let's go with the original first. Don't judge me. Let's see, 266 it's saying. And then the new one, I took the nut and the washer off. 266.
Well, same.
They weigh the same. I don't know what else to compare. They even have the same number of ridges, and they are the exact same part number on the CV boot. Oh, there's a little number there. Oh, there's a little number here. Those numbers don't match. This one says 1334388, and this is 620739704. I hope I wasn't in your way that whole time. I can't see what's inside of them, but boy, they feel very, very similar. As long as the internals are good, I'd say they're as good as OEM. But we'll find out 3,000 miles and I didn't lose an axle. If I put one of these in and it blows up out on the sand dunes, then we'll know. Let's put it in the machine. We'll check the front next. Every time I have these out, I like to wire brush them and clean them and coat everything in never sees. Alright, there's a lot of debate out there on if you should grease them, if you should put never sees on them, what should you do, blah blah blah. Those have been in there for a while, and you see I was able to pop them out, and they lived for 3,000 miles. And this is what I've always done. So do what you will, but we're putting never sees on them. Tuning up splines. Yep, right there. And that's it. Alright, I'm going to grease those bearings since we have it apart before we put that in. So we'll go put the other side in and then grease the bearings up. And another debate on these. I'm greasing her up with red and tacky. And I go until it starts coming out in all directions. Right about there. And I do that on every service interval or anytime I have the axle out for any reason. Putting it together is the same as taking it apart, just 100% reverse. Before we put this lower one in, we're going to put the hub back in. I usually forget, and it's a pain in the neck because it's blocking the lower caliper bolt. So you have to take it back off. Or try to weasel it. Well, yeah, you gotta take it back off. New washer.
We're off.
New nut. We have our bolt switch. The manual says to replace them each time, but we should at least throw a dot of Loctite on them. And that's the one that wouldn't fit if we put that lower arm on there. And the caliper bolts get tightened to 33 foot-pounds. We have at least that on it. Washer and a nut on each of those. Yeah, the radius rods get tightened to 52 foot-pounds. Put the little brake caliper line protector back on. The castle nut goes 180 foot-pounds. And last but not least, a new cotter pin. The ones they give you are a lot shorter than the ones that came out. I made a mistake. The old washer is still on the hub. It didn't come out. So I have to take it back out. Doggone it. New washer. Old washer. Can't believe I did that. I wanted to put the old washer and the old nut aside and on the axles so I can bring them as a spare on our trip. Alright, we'll set that and then we're heading to the front. Time for the front, which is exactly the same as the rear, except there is a tie rod that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, it's the same procedure, so I won't bore you with that. We'll just go straight to the tie rod. Tie rod, we're going to zip that right off with an 18. Whew. Runaway washer. Can you grab that for me? I'm going to put this back on. And sometimes you got to give her a couple of love taps to get it out. You don't want to booger up the threads, so that's why I put the nut back on. Alright, and then remove the upper. You alright over there?
My brakes don't come off.
And we can remove the upper or the lower ball joint. And a washer for that. And the bolt will usually come right out. There it is. Wax with the rubber mallet. There we go. That should be enough to pull it away and get the axle out of there. Pull this axle, we want to pull it straight, but we can't because this apparatus is in the way. So I'm going to pop this bolt out, move the shock up, and then I can move the A-arm up, and then I'll be able to get a pretty good grip on it. Pull it straight. Got the A-arms lifted way up. So now I can hold this nice and straight, and hopefully it'll pop out. Oh, she broke. Ah, crap. Alright, I'm gonna have to get the pepper fork and come back for it. I just felt this and it's almost out. I'm gonna get behind there with the crowbar. Bet you I can pop it still. There it is. Okay. We got her.
Now there's your problem.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to fix that. I want to keep these as good spares, so I really don't want it to break. But we got one. And this one you can't do the trick and drive through because they're just cups. We have a front axle out. And here we have a brand new one. It was packaged the exact same way as the rear ones. Let me get this opened up. Yep, same as the others. Comes with a cotter pin and everything. Let's compare. Old one. New one. They are within a couple thousandths. They are very, very similar. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The inner boot is a little different. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. These are the same. They even have one funny shaped one. See that? This one has green marks on it. And this one has green marks on it. The exact same color. Boy, if they're an OEM, they are extremely close to it. Let's compare the weight. Let me pull this off. This one has a number on it too, but it doesn't match any of the numbers over here, but looks like it's 1334389, revision 1. This is the old one. 264.8, almost 265. It was flickering. Alright. 264.8. So they're within, what, 1/10 of a pound of each other, which is as precision measurement as we can do in here. Boy, they feel like OEM quality. Let's put them on. Just like the rear, I get in there and brush them out real good, best I can, and then we'll coat the ends of them in Never Sees. All gooped up with Never Sees. Installed. Force it in. And we've got her lined up with the upper ball joint. Like so. Got my ball joint bolt back in. We're going to tighten that down to 44 foot-pounds. Then we can install our hub rotor. And we'll put the caliper on there with new brake pads. Check that out. Next up are 2 caliper mounting bolts. We're going to stick those in with a dab of Loctite and tighten them up to 44 foot-pounds. The new front axles didn't come with a washer, but the originals had a washer on them. So I'm going to put a washer back on it. That's weird. So there's one little difference. We're going to tighten that thing down to 200 foot-pounds. Okay, tie rod. Oops. Oh, jeez.
Hello.
Look how if we were ready for that to lower down. Because we're doing it right now. And this is supposed to be 30 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. This is when I would have lowered it down had my wire not broke. Shot gets tightened to 45 foot-pounds. We are done. I'm just gonna stand here and hold this old axle while we do the outro. Like I said in the beginning, we're headed to Michigan with this machine next. We are going to drive it hard. We're gonna do jumps and sand bogging and maybe try some skipping. I don't even know. We'll see what happens, but we're gonna drive them pretty hard, and that'll be the ultimate test. And longevity too. Once we come back, we'll hit our local trails, which are pretty rough as well. and see how they last. I will definitely put another video, or at least put in the comments below, how they are holding up. If I have a failure, I'll put it right there. But so far, I think they're going to be OEM. So the marker to beat is just shy of 3,000 miles. We're going to call it 3,000 miles for the failure. But I want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate every viewer and every subscriber. If you like this kind of video or like the video at all, just give me a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, but really helps me out a lot. If you do want to contribute some more, patreon.com/3dayweekend, or you can just join the channel straight through YouTube. But thanks again for watching. I hope I'll see you here for another video on 3 Day Weekend.